Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for another night of the Chem Valley Show here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Very excited to have my guest join me today. He's a good friend of mine. I grew up playing hockey with him. His dad is definitely the best coach I've ever had in any sport I've played. He's a graduate of Brock University Sports Management Program, which I'm excited to talk to him about that because I'm basically in the same program right now at Lambton, and we're gonna have a really good conversation today, I think. So joining me now is my good friend Tyson Slack. He's the strength and conditioning coach at the YMCA here in Sarnia. Tyson, how's it going tonight?
Good. How are you, Aaron?
Oh, not too bad. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, man.
Me and Tyson played hockey all the way growing up. Digging up some old pictures here. Baseball as well.
Baseball, and that's awesome.
Yeah. So we got lots to talk about. Let's start off with talking about how we met. I think it was hockey, and it was my first year. I was 12 years old. Obviously, you had played for many years before that. Your dad was the coach of the team. And what really stuck out to me in that first year, obviously starting off with meeting one of my very good friends and mentors, Aaron Brand. Your dad brought him out to a practice, and that's basically how I learned how to stop in hockey.
Yeah. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. And then that same year, it was such a crazy first year of hockey for me. We had the opportunity actually to go play on the Air Canada Center in Toronto. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That was your first year, eh?
Yeah, that was my first year of hockey.
Oh, wow. What an introduction. That was so much fun. And we were on TV and everything.
Yeah, for sure. What were some of your favorite memories of hockey growing up? Because we played house league for, I want to say, 4 or 5 years together. I know we played 1 year apart because I didn't get onto your team 1 year, which I was super bummed about. And we had to play each other a few times. That wasn't fun. But
I think we had maybe I think we had 3 years together in house league and then 1 year apart. And then we were back together for travel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In minor midget, once they started taking practices away and we wanted more ice time, then we kind of went up to the travel range. Our skills were there, so we took her up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we always had good teams. No matter what it was, the guys on the team were always a group. Whether we were the best team or the worst team, it was always a good group. And that was kind of one of the things that I think probably my dad stressed the most.
I was just going to say your dad was super critical on that. And I think that's what really brought us all together.
Exactly. It wasn't the stuff didn't fly where we were picking on each other.
And normally on sports teams, the coach's son, that's he's usually the most favorited and stuff like that. That was never the case with you growing up. You actually worked your way, I remember. And I remember once we got to travel, you deserved to be the first line defenseman, and you worked your way to get to that point.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things too, is that my dad was always, he'd let the other coaches coach me, and then he'd kind of coach the rest of the team. Mm-hmm. Anything that my dad had to say to me, he'd say it in the car ride on the way home if he needed to. But yeah, I definitely never wanted that. That was always a negative of the connotation of, coach's son, blah, blah, blah. But there's a few years where I know there was parents on the team that didn't know I was the coach's son until halfway through the season.
Yeah.
They figured out what my dad's last name was. They didn't even know that.
Wow.
The knock on my back was the same. And I remember my dad would tell me that. He's there's parents out there that don't even know that you're my kid. So they were doing something right. There's definitely no going on.
For sure. And we had a lot of fun. What were some of your favorite memories?
Yeah, I think the years, just the tournaments that we get to go into. Yeah. And that was the other thing too, is no matter what. And obviously we'd clean up every year in MD, which was good. I think we won the London section every year.
Yeah.
And probably I think it was the first year we played, and we started 0-16. Mm-hmm. You know that 0-16, and then we won the entire championship.
Yep.
The whole time we were just thinking, if we ever get this to click, it's just the right guys in the right scenarios. And everybody kind of took their role, and we went all the way through. And then definitely that one picture you showed of both of us when we won the total provincial championship. This one here, that was awesome.
And that was a great year. We had a lot of fun that year. I think what happened that year to make it so that we got so many like talented players. There was something that happened. I can't remember. Was there just not an AAA team?
I don't know if it wasn't a AAA team. I think what happened is it was the first year in major midget where you had 2 years combined.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the AA team took all the older guys, all the year above us.
Right.
That left all the kids that the coach didn't know or hadn't heard of to slide down to MD. So like our whole team was basically a AA team. And like at that point, guys are like, okay, well, like I'm playing AA. I'm not really going to go too far in hockey. So like, let's slide down and have a little bit more fun at MD. So we had like guys that definitely belonged in tiers above us, which made it.
Oh, for sure. And we had guys we had a guy, his dad was a scout in the NHL. Was that year? That might have been the next year, but either way, his dad was a scout in the NHL. And then the next year, the NHL video game came out and he was on the Peterborough Petes. I don't know if he played for them or what, how it happened, or if he knew somebody for EA, but it was absolutely unbelievable that this guy was my line mate the year before and now he's in the NHL game.
Yeah, that was wild because like he came from out of town. He came from out west and nobody knew who he was, but he played AAA out west. And since nobody knew who he was, he just kept getting cut down and cut down and cut down.
Yeah.
He was like the quietest kid ever. And like you said, his dad was a scout for the Blues. And somehow he got drafted or invited to the camp at Peterborough. I don't know how after playing MD, but he was one of those quiet guys that like you just didn't want to tick off.
Oh no, absolutely not.
A couple times where he just lost it.
Yeah.
Like, well, where'd that come from?
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you remember all this because I think I had way too many concussions in my time in travel and penalties, and I ran over a goalie one time. I think that was probably one of my most memorable moments was taking that goalie out and creating an entire bench brawl with the London team the one night. I think I got like a 13-game suspension for that. Might even have been longer, but it was
definitely double digits.
Yeah, it was double digits. It was a long one because I remember your dad was not happy with me at all. And I did make it back for the playoffs, or maybe it was like the final round of the playoffs, and then I ended up getting to play provincials, and I think that was the year that we ended up winning everything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what happened after, because I know we played, I think, house league baseball. I quit travel baseball, and I knew your dad was actually going to be the coach, and I knew that, and I was like, I got to go play house league then.
Yeah.
What did you do after baseball? Because that would have been when we were going into college, I want to say, that summer.
Yeah, so that would have been our grade 12 year, and then I ended up coming back for a grade 12X year just to go through like another year of sports.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the year that like hockey.
And I had some northern football pictures. I don't know where they are now. I can't find myself to put them up because I was on the other side. You're always getting crushed by you guys. But like what was some of those experiences like playing for Northern and getting to play at the Rogers Center and like you've played like on almost all the pro sports venues in Toronto. How does that feel?
Yeah, no, it's wild. There's been so many crazy opportunities that I've had like through sport and even after. With those Northern teams, that was something else. That's like that team, like as much as like hockey kind of shaped me, like we talked about, like my dad was a coach though. So there can only be like, the relationship was like a balance between coach and dad. Yeah. Where once you get onto that Northern football team, like it's a coach situation and it's like a mentor-mentee role. And that team, like I don't know how they are now. Like I think it's kind of evened out a little bit, but when we played, like that's the pinnacle of football in like Southwestern Ontario. Like Northern football is where it's at, and like you get on there and you have like 50 guys when other teams in the city couldn't put together 10, and then you have guys that are like a legit family, and you have guys that are always going off to school to do stuff, and like those coaches are probably had more impact on my life than like on the course of my actual life than any other coaches that I had, just because you go in there and there's a standard that's set every time. And it's a different culture than you see in hockey, right? Like hockey, the team's a little bit smaller. You can be a little bit more individual, but once you get onto a football field, like it's a team. Like if the guy beside you doesn't understand what he's doing, that's going to mess up the entire, whether you're on offense or defense, going to interrupt the entire team. So like that definitely, like that experience and those coaches that you have, like these are guys that have been coaching teenagers and dealing with groups of 45, 50 teenagers for like 20, 25 years. And like just the excellence that's expected.
Yeah.
Set me on a course of like, okay, like I know what I got to do. And that's probably what got me into fitness and strength training and everything.
I was just going to ask, do you think that kind of drove you in the direction of picking sports management at Brock?
Absolutely.
Let's start with that. And like, how was that experience, and why did you pick Brock?
Yeah. So when I went away to school, Brock I knew I wanted to go to school, and I didn't know what for until about like grade 11. My older cousin had gone to Brock to take the sport management program, and I looked into it. I'm like, okay, I enjoy the business. I enjoy sports. So like, let's meld it together. And that's what the sport management is at Brock. And at the time that I applied to schools, Brock was one of, I think it might've been still the only school that had a sport management program as far as university goes. And it is like the gold standard for sport management. Like,
yeah. Were you bummed that there wasn't a football team there?
A little bit. Not that I think I could have played very much.
What are you talking about? Of course you could have.
Like sneak on, because my position, like I played offensive tackle, and like I was smaller than this. I was 6 foot, like 180 going into university.
Yeah.
So like in high school, you can take the guys that are like less skilled, like the DNs or the tackles, and like you're either double teaming them or trying to kick them out. So like my speed and kind of shifting is going to help me. But if I try to play offensive tackle in like an CIS or like OUA scenario, I would get run over. So maybe in like a special teams, like block on like a kick return, like maybe just be a part of the team.
Yeah.
It could have happened, but I wasn't too worried about football. It's kind of sad when you go away, and you kind of realize like that's the end of your competitive sports time.
Yeah.
For me, when I went away to school, that was everything's for fun now. Any sport that you do is for fun. So it's like take the fitness a little bit more seriously. But yeah, I went there. It was really the only choice for sport management at the time. And I wanted to like go through university, go through the 4 years, and like you're bumping elbows, and the alumni from Brock is just, it's so impressive. So you have professors that have taught these people, but then you have these people coming in and talking to you, like, so like our esteemed alumni that everybody talks about, and it gets very annoying, is Kyle Dubas for the Leafs, right?
Yeah.
GM and the Leafs took our program.
My teachers actually talked about that. Hopefully he's listening right now. Justin Randall, he's mentioned it to me. Like, it's looked at as a much better like program now because he attended it, and he's a graduate of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of brings that name to it. I mean,
yeah,
in the program, you get really sick of hearing, oh, Kyle Dubas this, Kyle Dubas that, because there's so many other revenues to take. Like you go in and there's 180 kids in your year, and there's 100 people that want to be GM of the Leafs or want to be sport agents, right? Whereas there's so much other things you can do. Like another one of, I don't know what his name is, but at the time, the director of marketing for the NFL in Canada, he was an alumni of our program as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So like he came in and talked to us, and like he's talking about, like the development process of Madden, because he was involved with that, and like all the things that they're doing to try and grow the game in Canada, right? Because NFL in the States is just booming.
Yeah.
And in Canada it is too, but it's like, how do you build those connections? Because there's no real hometown team, right? Like especially once you start going further north, further away from the border, there's no hometown team. So that's kind of what he was talking about through his speech. But yeah, like a great program. But one of the things that I realize as I see the people coming in is there's a lot of room too, where you see the guys that come in that are like, oh, I sell insurance now. Or like, I have one guy I went to this class with, like, he sells photocopiers. So it's like, it's all about what you make of it.
Right. Yeah, of course. And were you surprised when you got into it about like how many jobs there actually is in the field, and like how much money there is to be made out there, like if you get into the right position somewhere?
Oh yeah.
Because I remember actually like seeing you after high school and like after your first year of university in the summer, and you mentioned to me that you wanted to open your own gym. Has that changed?
No, that's definitely the route that I'd like to go one day for sure. I just think that'd be awesome. And there's definitely a hole in the industry as far as the Sarnia area goes.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you didn't like just move forward with it, especially with the times now. It would probably be a little tough for someone just opening a gym in this era. But how have you dealt with things throughout the pandemic and everything? First off, let's talk about after school. Your first job you found. What was your first job?
So my first job. So what happened is through Brock, there's an internship program.
Did you do any sports at Brock? No.
No, just like they have a really great hockey league up there. That's like a juvie. They call it the alumni league.
Through the school?
No, it's completely separate. So it's like it's from age. They have a younger age, but then by the end of my time at the school, they had to combine them because there was only so many teams. So it's like it's called the alumni league, and what it is basically is all the guys that are like have done their travel hockey. Some of them are their junior hockey, junior C, a couple like the guys that my goalie played junior A in the States somewhere. But it's a lot more competitive than just normal beer league. So that's a great league up there. I played that. And then I think that's it as far as that. And then you play like slow pitch, 2-pitch in the summer times when you come.
When did you get into this?
So that was a great pick. So
and
that was third year of university. I just kind of decided that like I need an avenue to take out my competitive side. Like I need something to pour my everything into.
Yeah.
And like by the time you're 20, 21, you're not going to the NHL, you're not playing pro sports anywhere. So I wanted something that I could compete in that I would enjoy. And I have, since I started training for football back in high school, I've fell in love with the gym. Like absolutely, I could spend my whole day there. That's why it's my job now. So I was looking into things, and powerlifting, I was like, I love to squat, I love to bench, and I love to deadlift. Like those are my 3 favorite things. So they actually had a team at Brock. So I was like, at that time it was really small. It was just like more of like a club than an actual team. But by the time that I left, not that I had anything to do with it at all, but it had grown into almost a varsity sport, like right on the edge where like we had the Brock powerlifting gear and stuff. Like you had the sweaters and all that. And then it's something that I continued all the way through. And like I got into it to have something that I was competitive in, but then you just like stay in it for the people because it's just a great way to meet people. You go to the meets, you go to the powerlifting meets, and everybody's clapping and cheering for each other. It doesn't matter if you're a 70-year-old man or like a 20-year-old kid who's just trying it out for the first time. But yeah, so I got into it about third year university, I think, and then did a couple years with the Brock powerlifting team, and they've killed it. Like since I left, there's been a couple younger guys that took it over, and they've just like smoked it. I think they've won strongest school 2 back-to-back years, so it's really cool to see how that grew.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then after that, you went to, what did you do after Brock?
So after school, I took my internship. So a lot of people take it either like September to December or like January to April semesters.
Where'd you do it at?
I took mine in the summertime after my last year. So that meant that instead of graduating in June, I pushed my graduation back to October, and I did it throughout the summer. And I ended up finding a place here in Sarnia called Elite Core. It's not there anymore. It's been sold and changed owners, but I ended up doing my internship there, and I wanted to do it on the business side of the gym because that's what I went to school for. So I was like, this is a good fit.
Yeah.
I have to do my projects on and stuff like that. And there wasn't a ton to do. Like, it was like, yeah, like this young kid's coming in, like, what can I really change business wise? So I did my best. But then about halfway through the summer, the gym owner was like, hey, would you like to try training some of the, like coaching some of the classes, coaching some of the youth groups that came in? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. Like, do you want me to follow your programs or anything like that? Or what do you want me to do? And he's like, well, I've seen you working out here. Like, you know what you're doing. So just go with your gut instinct. So they kind of gave me free reins for a couple of months of doing like group classes. And then I ended up taking over the morning classes, which were like adult boot camps. So I'd have the adults in the morning, and then I'd have the kids come in at nighttime after school was done, and I'd have groups who there for training them. And then I went, because my schooling isn't necessarily like kinesiology or exercise science or anything like that, I had to go and get certified.
Mm-hmm.
I went and did the NSCA strength and conditioning coach. So there's a lot of like, you can go and get a personal trainer certificate like on the weekend. Like my mom can go and get it, but I wouldn't want my mom to train me.
Yeah.
She can easily get the certificate. So I wanted something that was a little bit more advanced. So in order to even take the test for the NSCA, you have to have completed like a 4-year degree in a university. I think you might be able to get in with a college one too, but it didn't have to be related. It was just like you had to do your 4 years at a university to be able to take the test.
Right.
So I had to go in and teach myself all like the nuanced exercise science things that weren't just like my intuition of what do I think's best for the kids, for the adults in the morning. So I ended up taking that test, got certified for my strength conditioning, and then that's kind of where I've been. I wouldn't say I bounced around, but I've made a switch away from that gym, which was definitely a great experience at the start. And I made a ton of great connections through there and had so many amazing experiences. There just comes a time when like you got to move on. You just know it's time, right?
Yeah, for sure. So are they still operating that gym, or?
They have new owners and they changed their name, so they're still in business. And
Right.
there's a few people, because when I came from that gym over to the Y, I couldn't do as big of groups anymore, just because the Y has limited space.
Right.
So there's a few people that came over with me and worked in like smaller pairs or like smaller groups, and then whoever didn't come over with me just kind of stayed there. And I think there's definitely a few people that are still there doing like the classes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So how long have you been at the Y for?
I've been at the Y for just over a year now. So I started in December of last year, and then full circle end of December this year, with obviously the breaks for COVID, and now this break here on this lockdown.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So what has it been like? Did you ever see yourself working at the Y, or?
So the Y was kind of a weird one. I had a guy that would come to my morning classes at the old gym, and he's like, man, I know this guy that's the fitness manager, or I think it's a wellness manager at the Y. I'm like, oh, okay. And we kind of met, and we were like, all right, do we maybe want to open our own thing, like the three of us? Because the one guy I think had come into like a chunk of money, and he was like, maybe that's the route we go with it, an investment into a new gym. And then I think it was the wellness manager at the Y. Very soon after, I think it was his I don't know if they're married or engaged or boyfriend, girlfriend, but they've been together forever. Anyway, she got pregnant, so he kind of backed away from that. And I hadn't really heard from him for like a couple of months. And then he came to me. They completely redid the Y floor. So he kind of reached out to me probably about 5 months before I started working at the Y and said, hey man, like, would you want to come work at the Y? And I'm like, well, the Y kind of has, when you think of the Y, you don't think of personal training.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I used to go there and play basketball, swim, and I'd go up to the gym just to kind of hang out and be a gym rat, to be honest. Like I wouldn't lift too much weights, but I just, those were in the high school days. I'd just be there to hang out and look cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And their facilities are not what they are today. Like they completely
Yeah, I wish I had a picture of what the new one looks like, because it looks absolutely incredible in there. It made me want to make the move from my current gym and come there.
Yeah, it is incredible. Like I don't know if it's not advertised or what it is, but like it's probably the nicest commercial gym in Sarnia. Like you can't really compare it to anything else because it's just higher quality. Like like it's hard to explain. It's an absolutely beautiful facility. So that was like, okay, maybe, but then I was really loving training the kids at my old gym. So, and like I said, like why you don't think of personal training, like it's like you're like, oh, you're a trainer at the Y, like blah blah blah. But after talking to the guy who was trying to, I don't want to say recruit me, but the guy, my connection, the wellness manager at the Y, I realized like, man, like this guy knows his shit. And I knew that like the first time I met him, like his name's Adrian. And I'm like, man, Adrian knows what's what. He's been in this industry for like 10 years. And he's like raising the Y up from the ashes here.
Yeah.
And like
is he still there? Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So this would have been the guy who was training Brian White, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before I started training Brian a little bit, he was working with Adrian. Yeah. And like Adrian's just a whiz with like people that have had injuries, mobility issues, anything like that, like any like long-term chronic pain stuff, like he's the go-to guy. So it turned into a little bit, not totally, but it turned into like, okay, Adrian would like fix these people, get them ready. And then like once they were ready, they'd come over and like my expertise is more like, all right, let's get you strong. Let's get you stuff like that. So that's kind of what happened with Brian is Adrian just got too busy and Brian had kind of worked out a good routine with Adrian as far as mobility, stretching, things like that. And
everything you needed to get thrown through a door, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, take that beating. And then so we kind of integrated between me and Adrian, like a decent plan for Brian as far as like, all right, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. I mean, Brian's totally found his own new thing with his yoga stuff, which is awesome to see. Cause like
it's great. Honestly, I had a chance to do that yoga when I right before all the pandemic started. I got to go to Tyson Dukes' wrestling school for a month with Brian a lot. And I got to do that yoga and it's hard, man. Like you're sweating within like minutes. It's crazy. And it's not like you're not even really moving. Like you're in one spot stationary and you're just doing a bunch of like these things that you don't even realize. I'm going to have Brian on sometime to talk about it. And there's another lady who I'd love to have on here, Sarah Fortune, who does it with Brian. And it would be great to talk about that side of things because I know that's another really important aspect into like training. Yeah.
It's definitely a whole different avenue. And, like,
do you think they're still discovering like the benefits of that kind of stuff?
Maybe a little bit. I'd say like the people that know.
Yeah.
Like the people that know have known for years.
Yeah.
Kind of to bring it to mainstream, it has to be like more stuff back, like more studies or whatever. Like if you know, like that there's stuff that works.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the same thing that we deal with as far as like a strength coach goes is like you watch, like, I don't know how much you pay attention, but I don't know if you've ever seen those like Ryan O'Reilly videos of him like stick handling on a balance beam or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, that's great. But now all my kids want to come in and stick handle on a balance beam. And that's not what we need right now. We need to get you guys stronger. We need to get you guys faster. But people will show these little tiny fancy clips of them doing extravagant things. And then that becomes the new standard. It's like, no. Like the things that have worked forever. Like there's things that aren't going to change. There's other things that we're going to tweak as we go along and we learn more. Absolutely. But there's things that are staples that aren't going to change. Like you're going to move through. Like you have to be explosive no matter what sport you play.
What type of clients are you talking about? Like you have younger kids, hockey players?
Yeah. So right now I deal with the biggest chunk that I do deal with and that I have dealt with is hockey players.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got lucky. That first gym that I worked at, I was exposed to a lot of different stuff. So I worked with all sorts of people, a lot of hockey players, people from all over the world. I had a guy from Switzerland come over and I had to train him, and he was like, spoke like broken English. So like,
oh yeah. What's the most interesting client you've had? Would it be that someone like that, or have you had any professional athletes that you've trained?
So he was pretty interesting. I really enjoyed that because it kind of gave me like a challenge of like, okay, how am I going to communicate the importance of this movement or this like critique or technique adjustment? How am I going to relay this to him? Mm-hmm. Or how am I going to like even congratulate him? Like he did a huge deadlift. Like, man, like you're a beast, man. And he's like, what is a beast? I'm like, dude, that's a good thing. Don't worry. But I've trained some like definitely some higher level people. I've trained a guy through NCAA lacrosse. I worked with a guy that got drafted last year for NHL just briefly. He wasn't very happy with the training that he was getting through his organization. So he came to me for a few months before.
Have you ever thought about going that avenue? Like, since you train all these hockey players already, have you ever thought? Because I worked for the Sting when Yakupov and Chenyuk were there.
Yeah.
As you know, you were across with your dad mostly every game. Have you ever thought about that? Because they had a strength and conditioning coach there, I know, for years. I don't know if he's there anymore, but they have a pretty nice little workout spot too. And like, has that ever been something you've looked at going after?
Yeah, that would definitely be a crazy opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like for me, it's right now it's kind of settled down and then kind of pick which direction. Like if I ever got that opportunity, that would be insane. I already have like I would be lying if I said that didn't cross my mind already. Because I like it's not hard. Like I've been in that room, like I've seen the things that they do, and I've seen like some of the programs that are written for them, and I know there's a lot left. There's a lot more space to grow. Mm-hmm. Like, whether or not it's effective what they're doing, or it's like it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just different. Right. So I see a lot of space for improvements if they were to find somebody that like really cared about it, and it wasn't just like a side position, or it wasn't just something extra that they did on top of their normal job. Because in my understanding, that's what it's been in the past, is like kind of forgotten about. Like you hear stories of guys that like can't get workouts in when they want to get workouts in because the coach is busy doing something else. Like these are guys, if you go to other organizations, like they have specific people that they pay for their strength and conditioning, and they have facilities that are absolutely out of this world. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just rubber mats rolled out underneath the stands with like 2 squat racks and limited weights.
Yeah.
Like full blown, almost pro experiences.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be a need for a player on your team to outsource training, right? Like do your training with your own trainer in the summertime. That's awesome. But when it comes time to get into the season, you should be working with the team.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like you should be working with the boys in a group, building that connection. Because like I see it all the time. Like the teams that don't do well, that don't cooperate on their off ice training, they don't cooperate on the ice. They don't cooperate in the dressing rooms.
Yeah.
They don't get W's. Like it's as simple as that. So like if you don't have that community that you build off the ice just as much as you work on it on the ice, then like you start to see the separation of the teams that like have it down pat and know what they're doing and like have a great system. And those are the teams that are at the top of the standings every year.
Yeah.
They're the ones that do it right, and they're the ones that put the effort into it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think having that attitude is going to drive you to be a coach when you're older? Is that something you're going to do?
Like a team coach?
Yeah, I guess you are already a coach in a way. Have you ever thought about like doing like a weightlifting team in Sarnia, like starting one up?
We've definitely, as far as like powerlifting stuff goes, that's one thing too, is like there's not a space to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's not a good space in Sarnia to train athletes. That's perfect. Like there's no perfect space, but there's no space dedicated to actual athletes. There's also not a space where somebody who wanted to take powerlifting seriously could do it. Like there's guys that are gonna like deadlifting in the middle of the gym floor at Sharky's or trying to deadlift at like a Good Life or squat or bench at any commercial gym.
And you can't do that, no?
It's tough. It's really tough. And especially if you wanted to get a group effort going.
Yeah.
Because if you go into a Good Life Fitness or if you go into like a normal commercial gym, maybe 2 or 3 squat racks. So if you have a group of 5 people in there that need a squat that day, it's tough. They're going to be taking up those squat racks for a while. Like a powerlifting workout takes some time. Same thing with like a bench. Like if you have one bench in the gym and there's like 6 guys that need a bench that day, like, I mean, you can all hop in on the same bench, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
So there definitely would be nice to have a space that was powerlifter friendly and like athlete focused. Which would be nice if one day I could bring that.
Yeah.
That's obviously the end goal for me one day, but it's also if it's not the right time and if it's not the right place at the right moment, it can go bad very quickly. Right. Like it's a huge investment. And then you're left. There's other ducks in line that need to be taken down before I can start thinking about that.
For sure. And I mean, you're in a good position now. So why?
Yeah. And I like right now that I have a little bit of freedom as far as what I want to do. Like if an opportunity comes up, I can jump at it right now. You know what I mean? Like if a position comes open that I would love to take, then I can take it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm struggling trying to open my own gym or something and an opportunity comes up, well, it's like, no, I can't do it because I got to stay at my gym. I'd love to do it, but
yeah.
Sorry, like.
Well, speaking on that, I don't want to take up too much more of your time tonight. We're having a really good chat here, and I'm enjoying it. Where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you? Is the best spot to come to just the YMCA and say I want to start working out with Tyson? Obviously, when the pandemic is over and this lockdown's done, but has that affected you a lot in terms of like, have you picked up any clients online or tried to be creative with in terms of things throughout the pandemic, or are you just kind of sitting back and
what we did,
enjoying the time off?
A little bit of everything. So what we did in the summertime is we took all our stuff outside.
Yeah.
So I had one guy here in
at the Y?
No, I had to do that. I had to do that just on my own.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So I had some equipment sitting around. So in the summertime, we'd get some outdoor workouts in.
Cool.
I had a guy here in London that I trained 3 times in the morning, and then I drove to Sarnia once a week. And then a few of the guys that I train had some equipment on hand, so I was writing at-home programs for them.
Nice.
Always open to write at-home programs for anybody who needs one. And then I have other clients too, like my Gen Pop clients. They just kind of took a break. It's really hard to do a lot with them outside. Not because a lot of them have like special things that like we need to work on. I can't just run them. I can't just go, okay, we're gonna do sprints, we're gonna do broad jumps, and we're gonna do some walking lunges. Like that's not the type of training that they need. It's a little bit of a slower paced, more like, all right, we're gonna practice this, we're gonna work on this mobility. So those ones, almost everybody that I had before the first lockdown came back.
Oh, that's great.
To me, which was awesome. And then I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen this time because I've gotten responses like, like as soon as we're open, like let's get right back at it because we're missing it right away. So nothing too crazy yet as far as like anything creative COVID wise. Summertime we did outside, and like right now.
What are your plans for 2021? Just keep killing it at the Y and.
Yeah, I definitely like to do that. I would. Big plan is get a house in Sarnia.
Yeah, so you're living in London right now and making the commute to work 2 times a week. That's crazy on its own, because especially probably in the winter, they can't be fun drives.
Yeah, I know there's definitely been some sketchy drives for sure, but like like I said, like as soon as I moved to London, I know like there's certain people in Sarnia that like I'm gonna ride or die with them until they're done. Like until they're done. Especially like some of these young guys that I've been working with now for like 4 years. Like these are guys that I want to see through. Like I have a couple older guys that like I want to train them until they go away to school, like whether they play sports afterwards or not. And
is that the most accomplishing part about your job, is like seeing guys succeed and get through to
dude, it's insane, because that's like one of the biggest things for me is like when I was younger, I didn't have a Tyson. Like I didn't have anybody to teach me how to train properly. So I was literally like in the gym 7 days a week doing like.
Well, that's not true. Brian to me was someone like that, and I feel like he had his own special connection with every person. By the sounds of it, you do too with each of your clients. Like you got that special connection, and it's honestly great to see.
Yeah, that's what I always try and do is like these guys, like they talk like I know everything about most of these kids, right? Like I with their coaches, not necessarily me because it's usually twice a week. But with like other coaches, they spend more time with their coach than they do with their parents, right?
Yeah.
So like if I can have a positive impact on them, then that's perfect. And like you said, like my dad had that with a lot of you guys. I was more so saying as far as like the training goes, like
okay,
have a guy to teach me how to train.
For sure.
I was in there like I said, 7 days a week doing the machine circuit at Good Life.
I just thought I'd mention it. I feel like I'm finding a lot of similarities between both of you, and like I said, you have. It sounds like you have your own special connection with each client, as Brian did with each player.
Yeah, I kind of try. Like for me, like my biggest role models when I was younger, obviously my dad. Like I spent so much time with him, so there's 100% things from like his coaching and his impact on you guys. Like he'll run into somebody that he coached 30 years ago and remember them. Right?
Wow.
Like, who does that? And at that time, like he was coaching house league hockey. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't even alive then. He was literally volunteering his time to coach.
That's incredible.
To remember these guys. And then, like I said, like the coaches at Northern for football. Like, so I try to keep like a mixture of that, because you know as well as I do, like with my dad, what was the number one thing with my dad? Number one thing with my dad is fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Winning's fun, but let's just have fun. Let's enjoy it. Let's get
absolutely.
Right?
I remember the one tournament, Moose Winooski's. Do you remember that? We got absolutely. I think they ended up like having illegal players or something.
It's Filthy McNasty's.
Okay, yeah, Filthy McNasty's.
Filthy McNasty's. And to this day, every time I see John, me and John are talking about Filthy McNasty's. They had guys that were like 3 years older than us playing on their team.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And it was like all about fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's all about fun. So like I try and take that mixed with like my time playing football at Northern. Like that's like a winning culture.
That name was so far ahead of their time. The Filthy McNasty's. Holy. Imagine like that. I'm probably going to name my hockey team that if I ever create a beer league team. That's an amazing name.
It is a great name, but that's a legit. I think at that time, like I think that's an actual restaurant name, and they were just sponsored by Filthy McNasty's.
Yeah,
it's the Burlington tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, good times, man. And we had a ton of them. I don't want to take too much more of your time tonight, so we'll wrap things up there. Maybe we'll do this again sometime, or we can just catch up some night, because this was really fun.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for
I know we plan to do a workout pre-COVID times, and I just never can get myself in there to do it. And I'm only 2 blocks away, so I have no excuse.
Yeah, we're absolutely getting you in there.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Definitely. All right. Well, we'll wrap things up there. Thanks so much, Tyson, for joining me tonight. Like I said, we'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. So that was Tyson Slack joining me here for episode number 5 on the Chem Valley Show. I've been having a lot of fun with it so far. I've had lots of great guests. Me and Tyson just had a great conversation about brought back lots of really good memories and put a smile on my face. So tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to have a guest or not on, if I'll be able to get anyone. As tonight, I just kind of messaged Tyson there last minute, and he said, sure, no problem. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. But I do have some pretty big guests lined up for the new year. I just confirmed someone today from the UFC. Darren Stewart is going to be joining me. The dentist is going to be joining me on the show. So I'm really excited for that in the new year. And I'm going to keep on trying to line up some really cool interviews. So thanks a lot for all the support and comments. Share the videos, subscribe on YouTube, do whatever you gotta. Everyone just love each other, and we'll get through this time. It's only day 5 of the lockdown here in Ontario. There's 28 in total, so we'll get through them all. If anybody needs anything, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I always got your back, and stay safe, everyone.